Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin is dumping below this key Fibonacci level, we're now seeing a rare signal flash on the Bitcoin price chart that we have not seen in over 3 years. That is right. We need to pay attention to this, which I'll talk about that in just a moment, while the price of Bitcoin is wiping out this exact area of liquidity, which we also need to pay attention to, while Ethereum is perfectly bouncing from this exact level of support, while the price of XRP is continuing to play out this massive warning signal on the larger time frames. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to take a look at some Bitcoin news today, because we now have the numbers for Thursday for the Bitcoin ETFs, and we could see a massive net outflow on Thursday, essentially meaning a lot of sell pressure coming from the Bitcoin ETFs, with a lot of investors withdrawing their money out of the Bitcoin ETFs just on Thursday. And so first of all, we started off the week on Monday with a net outflow of around $250 million, $254 million. Tuesday, a net outflow of $372 million. Wednesday, a net inflow of just $75 million. But then on Thursday, a net outflow of over $903 million US dollars, leaving the spot Bitcoin ETFs just on Thursday in one single trading day, which basically means $900 million worth of Bitcoin was dumped, because these ETF providers like BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. are having to essentially sell the spot Bitcoin, sell the Bitcoin holdings that are backing the ETFs in order to effectively pay out these outflows. And so overall, obviously, we've seen a lot of sell pressure as of recent from the Bitcoin ETFs. Wall Street's pulling their money out of the Bitcoin ETFs right now. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today here on the weekly time frame, of course, as I've already been saying over the last 1 week or so, this super trend indicator recently flipped back into the red for the first time in many years, since the 2022 bear market was the last time that this indicator was actually sitting in the red. So keep that in mind. This is a major bearish signal to watch out for on the larger time frames. And of course, if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, speaking about massive bearish signals to watch out for on the larger time frames, this one has already been perfectly playing out over the last 1 to almost 2 months now, around 1.5 months. This has been perfectly playing out as predicted, forming a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum, and playing out a larger pullback in the price of Bitcoin, which is exactly what I've been talking about every day for over a month now on the channel. Since all the way back up here, I've been warning about this massive bearish divergence playing out for most likely a period of weeks or months, that sort of time frame. And once again, it's been over a month now, and this is still active, still playing out on the larger time frames. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, obviously the current trend momentum price structure that we're currently in is still clearly bearish, but occasionally during the bearish trend, we can see little bounces here and there, so just keep that in mind, but don't be fooled by those bounces, because at least for now, the trend is still obviously pointing in the bearish direction. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, obviously, if the price were to actually make it back up here, expect a lot of resistance in between roughly 92 to 94,000. Also expect some resistance at roughly 85 to 86,000, especially if we confirm this daily candle close below that level. But for now, we've not yet technically confirmed a candle close below this point of support here, roughly 85 to 86,000. And as for the next support towards the downside, based on this local low, we have hit a psychological level of support at pretty much exactly 80,000, a big round number, psychological level at 80,000, acting as a bit of support. But if we continue a further pullback, the next major point of support is basically based on this previous low back here that we saw in early April, and that's sitting at roughly around 75 to 76,000. And of course, if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, like I already mentioned in my last video, we've hit well into the oversold territories here in the daily Bitcoin RSI. And the last time we saw an oversold signal confirm on the daily Bitcoin price chart was back here around near the end of February, late February this year. And so obviously it's been quite a while since the last time we saw this signal confirm. And what happened last time this actually confirmed was just a bit of a short-term bounce, not necessarily a bottom signal. This does not guarantee the bottom is in, but within the next few days or so, it's likely we'll start to see some sort of bounce. And obviously that's exactly what I said in my last video. In fact, in my last video, I said most likely within a couple of days, we'll start to see a bit of a bounce form and potential low local low starting to form, not the bottom, but maybe just a low that could hold for a few days or a week, that sort of time frame, kind of like what we saw back here, back in late February entering into March. And so most likely within the next 24 hours, potentially already happening right now, it's possible that roughly 80,000 is the current local low, not the bottom, but the current local low. But basically over the next 1 day or so, it is quite likely we'll start to hold above whatever the local low is and potentially see a little bit of a relief, just a bit of a short-term break from all of the bearish price action for a few days, maybe a week, that sort of time frame. Only talking about a bit of a short-term relief, which is helping to reset the RSI out of oversold territories. Overall, that is what I expect in the coming days, and most likely will play out for the next 1 week or so here in the shorter term, kind of like what we saw back here. Obviously, don't expect the exact same outcome, but something similar is quite likely in the coming days. Just a bit of a relief from all of the bearish price action in the short term, but overall, we're still not in the clear yet when we're talking about the larger timeframes, still looking very weak when we're talking about the next month, for example. But if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, zooming out, of course, this is the entire bull market, and right now, the 3-day Bitcoin RSI has actually just hit into oversold territories on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart for the first time since around the middle of 2022. So obviously the last time that this signal actually confirmed on the 3-day Bitcoin RSI was in the previous bear market over 3 years ago. And now once again, I want to make this clear, an oversold signal by itself is not a bottom signal. It does not mean that we've hit the bottom and we can't go any lower. Of course, what happened last time, both of these times right here during the 2022 bear market, we hit oversold, and for the next couple of weeks or so, just in the somewhat shorter term, we did see a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action. This first case right here, the first example, we saw a bit of a sideways consolidation between around start of May 2022 up until start of June. So for roughly around a month, we were kind of just chopping around relatively sideways. And then if we're taking a look at this second example during around middle of 2022, around June 2022, when this actually confirmed right here, we saw first a bit of choppy sideways price action, a bit of a sideways consolidation for close to a month, give or take, and then about 1 more month of a short-term bullish relief, just a bit of a slight bullish move towards the upside, not a massive recovery towards all-time highs or anything like that, but just a bit of a bullish relief for 1 to 2 months, and then ultimately the continuation of the bear market later on. And so considering the current information that we have here, of course, the oversold signal on the daily time frame, but also now the oversold signal on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, it's possible that in the next 1 or 2 weeks, not necessarily just the next couple of days, but maybe over the next couple of weeks, we could actually see some sort of decent relief. Once again, don't expect a lot of strength, don't expect a lot of bullish momentum, but a decent lasting relief from all of the bearish price actions. So that could either be a sideways consolidation or maybe a slight bullish relief. But in terms of decent lasting, I mean, rather than just a couple of days, it could potentially be a couple of weeks. That sort of time frame, we should be expecting just a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action, starting most likely either right now or within the next day or so, and lasting for at least a few days, possibly a couple of weeks. But remember, if we're talking about, let's just say, the next couple of months, the larger time frames like the weekly chart, still not looking too good. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term price action here on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, we have now just confirmed a new bullish divergence with one confirmation signal confirming, of course, the higher low in place. In fact, we have almost horizontal lows, but even if we have perfectly horizontal lows, that's still a form of a bullish divergence because we clearly have lower lows in the price in the candle closes. So whether we have horizontal lows or higher lows in the RSI, for as long as we don't have lower lows in the RSI alongside the lower lows in the price, then we do technically have a new bullish divergence now confirmed with one confirmation signal on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart. And so as usual, a bullish divergence typically means we're most likely going to see at worst a sideways consolidation, but quite possibly just a slight little bullish relief in the coming days here. If we're talking about the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously the last couple of times we confirmed a bullish divergence and started to play it out here on the 6-hour time frame, we did either see just a slight bullish relief or a little bit further of a bullish relief, maybe close to a week, before ultimately continuing the bearish trend later on. Once again, this is not a bottom signal and the oversold signal is not a bottom signal, but it does mean that just in the shorter term, term for the coming days, maybe the next week, that sort of time frame, expect just a slight little relief, a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action in the short term. And once again, right now, as of recording this video, this is potentially now beginning and most likely will last for the next few days. And once again, based on this oversold signal on the 3-day time frame, once again, this means the relief could last for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, that sort of time frame. And the good news about these signals starting to flash on the daily chart, 3-day chart, and 6-hour chart, suggesting a little bit of a short-term relief coming very soon, potentially now already beginning. The good news about these signals now flashing is it's happened just after we perfectly wiped out this major area of liquidity that I've been targeting for a while now on the channel, that was sitting at roughly 83,000. Obviously, when I mentioned 83,000 at these much higher prices, a lot of people called me crazy for even suggesting the lower 80k area as a likely target coming soon. But obviously, now that we've hit that area exactly as expected, we've wiped out that area of liquidity. We've now obviously run into a bit of support at close to 80,000, and we don't really have significant liquidity immediately below the price. So we do have a small amount beginning to build at around 76 to 77,000 and a small amount at around 74,000, but overall, no real significant levels immediately below the price, at least compared to these other levels like 83,000 and 89,000 as other significant levels that have already been now wiped out. And so considering all of that information, once again, as I've been saying throughout the video, I do expect just a slight little relief, either a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief in the coming days, maybe even lasting 1 or 2 weeks, that sort of time frame. But overall, we've not yet confirmed any reversal out of this larger bearish movement that we're still technically within, but just expect a bit of a short-term break from that move. And so this is definitely the time in the market to get set up ready to go on a crypto exchange to take advantage of the next trading opportunity as soon as I share it here on the channel. And of course, if you use the first link below the video in the description or in the pinned comment, that first link will take you to this Pinex page right here, where you can take advantage of some major bonuses simply just by depositing crypto using that link. So for example, if you deposit 100 USD, you get a 200 USDT bonus into your account. If you deposit $1,000, you get a $600 deposit bonus. If you deposit these larger amounts, you can get up to 40,000 USDT as a deposit bonus. This is basically free money from the Pinex exchange, which they'll go ahead and deposit into your account just by simply making a deposit using that link below the video. But unfortunately, if you don't use the link below the video to actually make your Pinex account, you can't take advantage of any of these bonuses here. So you might as well do that if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or preparing to take the next trading opportunity. You might as well get set up ready to go using that link to take advantage of these major bonuses. And then if you want to, you could go ahead to actually use these deposit bonuses, use the exchange's money in order to actually fund these Bitcoin trades right here. But if you want a no KYC exchange to trade Bitcoin or crypto, and if you want protection from coming liquidations, then definitely check out the second link below the video. The second link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment will take you to this page right here over on 2bit, where you can also take advantage of some major bonuses. And they actually have recovery funds and liquidation protections from simply just by making an account using that link. You can have loss protections on your first trade. And so for example, if you're a new user that's just making a 2bit account during this event, which is now active, on your first trade, you get a 100% loss protection up to 200 USDT. So basically, if you lose $200 on your first trade on 2bit, the exchange will completely cover that loss, as you can see right here, out of this protection funds that they have set up. But once again, this is only available using that link. And on top of that, there's also a recovery fund. So for example, if you got liquidated during this event right here, over 50 USDT, you may be eligible for recovery compensation up to 1,000 USDT. And so basically, even if you're losing money, which if you've been watching these videos on this channel, you should not be losing money. You should be making money with short positions, for example, as we head lower. As I said, at around 93,000, I said that's the point to short, not financial advice. But if you somehow lost money, if you're following, let's just say, another crypto influencer out there and you lost money, then you can actually get that money back from 2bit using that second link below the video. But once again, if you don't use that link, you can't take advantage of any of these bonuses here. So especially if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check it out. And once again, 2bit is a no KYC exchange. exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and right now we're still currently within the shorter term correction or short-term pullback for the Bitcoin dominance. So at least as of right now, we have no confirmed signal confirming the reversal of this short-term pullback. So it is quite likely that this could continue a little bit longer, but not necessarily forever. So sometime soon, I do expect maybe the price to start to form a bit of choppy sideways price action like this in the Bitcoin dominance. But overall, I am still a little bit more bearish than I am bullish for the Bitcoin dominance, at least here in the short term for the time being. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH just pretty much perfectly to the nearest dollar bounced from this retracement level, the 50% retracement level on the daily Ethereum price chart that I've been talking about for a while now on the channel, and that was sitting at just above 2.6k, really in between 2600 to 2700 is the area of support to watch out for, and that's exactly where the price just bounced from at this local low. So obviously that's still acting as support, but if the price were to actually break below around 2.6k, in that situation, it's possible we could drop all the way down towards around 2100 to 2200. So roughly 2.2k as the next major target towards the downside if we first actually confirm to break below 2.6k to 2.7k. So once again, that is the immediate support to watch out for. And as for resistance, in case we see any sort of decent bounce here, expect a lot of resistance in between 3000 to 3.1k. And clearly, despite whatever happens in the short term, whether we see a bounce or not, the larger trend that we're still currently in is clearly bearish, obviously forming lower highs, lower lows, forming bearish price structure. So be aware of the fact that yes, we could see short-term bounces here and there in the short term during the larger bearish trend, but don't be fooled by those short-term bounces, which we're potentially just about to begin one, especially if Bitcoin plays out that little bit of a relief moving forward, which is quite likely as I predicted earlier in the video. Of course, that could help Ethereum in the short term. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, obviously, like I already mentioned here, and especially for Bitcoin over the last 1 to 2 days, we already hit oversold for the Ethereum price chart on the daily Ethereum RSI. We've just now hit oversold, and the last couple of times that we hit oversold or got very close to oversold, we did see at least a bit of a short-term bounce in the coming days or maybe over the next week. That sort of time frame. Once again, don't expect a massive reversal all the way towards all-time highs based on this signal alone. That's not what this means. But do expect a bit of a short-term relief, maybe a slight bullish movement in the coming days is a very likely scenario, at least based on what we've seen in the past, based on this signal previously confirming, which is now confirming as of recording this video. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, obviously right now Solana perfectly rejected from my exact area right here, sitting in between around 143 to 147, and we've run into this exact level of support sitting at around 124. And right now we're still bouncing at around this support at close to 124, but if the price were to actually confirm a 2-day candle close or a daily candle close below that level, especially if we failed to get back above that support, in that situation it's possible we could drop all the way down towards roughly $105, so close to $100 as the next major point of support to watch out for. But once again, the immediate support is still sitting at roughly 124 to 126, give or take. And once again, as for resistance, if we see another bounce here, still expect a lot of resistance in between around 143 to 147. And clearly, in terms of the larger trends, the larger price structure, we're still currently bearish. We've not yet confirmed any reversal out of this bearish trend, at least not as of right now. But in the short term, just for the next few days or so, I do expect the price to either form a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief, especially if Bitcoin does the same. Obviously, Bitcoin really leads the market. If Bitcoin has a dump, as it has been doing over the last few days, a lot of altcoins will likely follow similar price action, but vice versa. If Bitcoin has a little bit of a relief over the next few days, a lot of altcoins could also play out just a little bit of a short-term relief, especially also considering the fact that the 2-day Solana RSI and especially the RSI on slightly smaller time frames are just about hitting oversold, and especially on smaller time frames already hitting oversold, telling us that we could see a bit of a relief very soon in the short term, but not necessarily confirming the bottom for this trend. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, obviously right now the price of XRP is still playing out this massive bearish divergence, as I warned about since basically end of July, early August. Every day since that, back then, months ago, this is still playing out as predicted. So even though a lot of people out there were telling me I was going to be wrong about this multi-month pullback coming very soon. It's obviously now played out, and at least for now, it is still active. It's still influencing the price of XRP. We've not yet confirmed any invalidation signal to end this bearish divergence, which means overall, on the larger timeframes, talking about maybe the next couple of months, still expect a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum, and quite possibly a continued pullback to lower prices. But in the shorter term, if of course Bitcoin and other crypto assets continue a bit of a short-term relief in the coming days or over the next week, it's possible that that could also help XRP just in the short term. So keep that in mind. It's not a straight line down. Clearly the trend, the larger trend, is still very much bearish, even if we do see a bit of a short-term relief, kind of like what we saw just here. If we see a short-term bullish relief, obviously that does not mean the end of the larger bearish trend, so keep that in mind. So basically what I'm saying is maybe over the next few days, the next week, that sort of time frame, do expect a little bit of a relief, especially if Bitcoin plays out something similar. But if we're talking about, say, the next month or a couple of months, overall, we've not yet confirmed the end of this larger bearish trend. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, obviously, we're now potentially about to retest this previous point of support sitting at around $2 to $2.05, which could possibly now act as new resistance. So keep that in mind. But if we break out back above $2.05 and hold above that level, it's possible we could see a move up towards around $2.20 as the next key point of resistance. And above $2.20, we have a lot of resistance in between $2.30 to $2.40. And as for support right now, obviously we ran into these previous lows based on the daily candle closes sitting at around $1.80, and we bounced from pretty much around 1 cent from $1.80. We bounced from around $1.81, at least based on this chart right here on this exchange. So obviously that's what I talked about over the last few days. I said if we break below around $2.05, especially if we break below $2, expect to move down closer towards around $1.80 as the next price target, which is now perfectly played out within about 1 cent of that $1.80 price target. But if the price actually ultimately breaks below $1.80, maybe after we first play out a bit of a relief, if we ultimately continue the trend lower later on, break below $1.80, in that situation, the next target, next point of support to the downside below $1.80 would be sitting at close to $1.60. But once again, immediate support is $1.80, immediate resistance around $2 to $2.05. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a similar situation for Chainlink. Obviously, the larger trends, the larger price structure, the larger momentum, still all bearish, still clearly bearish, as I've been saying for months now on the channel, forming lower highs and lower lows. But in the shorter term, from time to time, we can see little reliefs, little breaks from the bearish trend in the short term here and there during the larger bearish trend. So it's possible that, of course, if Bitcoin starts to play out this slight little relief in the coming days or over the next week, of course, it's possible, in fact, likely that that could help Chainlink and a lot of these major altcoins here in the short term play out just slight little reliefs, a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action, maybe for just a few days or a week, that sort of time frame. And also keep in mind that the daily Chainlink RSI is just about hitting, pretty much brushing against oversold in the daily Chainlink RSI. And the last time we got this low, close to oversold in the daily Chainlink RSI, we did see a bit of a sideways consolidation over the next 1 to 2 weeks, just choppy sideways price action. So a bit of a break from all of the crazy bearish price action, but not the end of the bearish trend. So overall, in the coming days, maybe over the next 1 or 2 weeks, that sort of time frame, just talking about the shorter term, I do expect a bit of a relief or a bit of a break from all of the crazy bearish price action here, but not necessarily confirming the end of the larger bearish trend. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, obviously we ran into around $11.60, which is the point of support that I've been targeting since we broke below around $13.30 approximately. I've been targeting obviously these previous lows, which were sitting in the $11 range, around $11.60 based on the daily candle closes back here, or if we're looking at the actual candle wick low, it's sitting at basically around $11. So for now, we are finding support at $11.60 based on the previous daily candle close lows that we saw back here in June 2025. So that's the support to watch out for. And as for resistance, if we continue a bit more of a bounce here, expect a lot of resistance in between roughly $13 to $13.40 and more resistance closer towards around $15. if the price were to actually make it back up there. And so overall, those are my expectations and the key levels and key signals to watch out for in the short term for Chainlink and all of these other crypto assets. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below the video to those exchanges to take advantage of those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.